and welcome to another Pages and Popcorn. I'm Becca, and today we are going to be talking about Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. The movie comes out today, June 3rd, but I saw it yesterday, June 2nd. That's how dates work. So I'm coming at you with a comparison between the book and the movie. Of course, because this is talking about the movie, there's going to be major spoilers for the book. Not so much for the movie, because thankfully the plot followed the book extremely closely. So if you haven't read the book, I always recommend reading the book before going and seeing the movie. But if reading isn't really your thing, you can still definitely enjoy this movie. It's great for a date night or a night out with your friends. So that being said, there are going to be spoilers ahead. You've been warned. I just want to start out by talking about a few of the actors, not all of them, because I didn't have like super crazy thoughts on all of them, just a few of them, few of the main ones. First off, Emilia Clarke, who played Louisa. She was funny, quirky, awkward, and basically everything that you could ever ask for in the character of Louisa Clarke. I think that casting was absolutely amazing for all of the characters, and I couldn't have asked for anyone better to play the character of Louisa. She is Louisa. Sam Claflin, who plays Will Traynor. In my trailer reaction, I was a little skeptical of how his acting would be and how he would portray the character of Will, because I always pictured him having more standoffish personality, like a more coldness to him, and that definitely came through more in the movie than it did in the trailer. You got to see that cold, sarcastic personality of his, and then gradually as the movie goes on, as the plot continues on, you get to see him warm up as he gets to know Louisa, which was amazing to see. I was skeptical, but I don't think that I could have picked anyone better to play Will either. He was just amazing. And of course, all my Harry Potter fans out there, I can't talk about the actors without talking about Matthew Lewis. I am still shocked that he is in this movie. I haven't seen him in anything since Harry Potter, and he'll always be Neville in my heart. But by the end of the movie, he was so Patrick. He is so Patrick. And it was really great to see that different side of Matthew Lewis that we don't get to see in Harry Potter. And I just love seeing all these different wide ranges of acting skills that these actors have. It was really refreshing to see, and I'm glad that he got the opportunity to portray this role. Okay, moving on to the overall plot. I was pleasantly surprised on how closely the plot of the movie followed the plot of the book. There were some small things that were omitted just to make everything flow together a little bit nicer, but I don't think that that detracted from the plot of the movie at all. You still get the story, you still get all of the information basically that you do in the book, all of the major points that is, which was nice. Always, that's what you want to see in a book to movie adaptation, so I was really happy with how it came out. And of course, everything flowed together really nicely, and just the overall feel that I got when I was watching the movie meshed really well with the feel that I got while I was reading the book. All of the imagery, all of the different transitions, it was just spot on. They just handled this adaptation really well. But we do have some minor differences in the movie. Unlike in the book, Will doesn't have a sister. They didn't put his sister in the movie at all, so that means that Louisa finds out what Will is planning to do because she overheard his mom and dad talking, whereas in the book she overheard his mom and sister talking. So not a big change, but I was kind of interested in seeing his sister. Even though she played such a small part in the book, it's still just that feeling of family. But I think that it made it a little bit more heartbreaking because they did make him an only child. At least that's what you can sum up from it, because his siblings weren't mentioned. So that is just a little bit more heartbreaking for Camilla to have to go through that with her only child. I did get the feeling that the movie was a little bit more Americanized than the book was. In the book, I felt like Will was a very sophisticated, classy gentleman, and he was really into classical music and jazz and all of those types of things, whereas in the movie, he makes a comment when Louisa gets him concert tickets saying, oh, I guess all of the tickets for Jay-Z were sold out. So I thought thought that that was a little bit out of character when it comes to the book, because I didn't think that that was really his taste in the book, although it was a witty comment to make. And also, after Will and Louisa watched the foreign film together, her first film with subtitles, they included a cute little scene of Louisa and Patrick going on a date to the movies, and Louisa saying, "Hey, let's see this foreign film," and Patrick saying,
"Oh, well, I guess we speak Spanish now,"
and Louisa saying, "Well, it has subtitles," and then Patrick turns to the cashier at the movie theater and says,
"We'll take 2 for the Will Ferrell movie."
So just little things like that. I felt like they Americanized it a little bit more, which didn't bother me, but I thought that it was slightly out of character, at least for Will. Maybe not for Patrick, but for Will. One big difference that I wish had been included, at least in some small way, is that Louisa's history with the castle and her fear of going to the castle and going through that maze because of her assault when she was younger that took place within that maze was completely cut out. And in the book, I felt like when she did have that breakdown at the castle with Will, it allowed her to show her vulnerability, and her and Will connected on a really deep level during that scene. And I feel like that is when Will really starts to warm up more quickly to Louisa. So I was a little bummed that that huge piece of character development from the book was not included in the movie. In order to end on a good note, I always talk about my dislikes before the things that I did like, so let's get started with that. The biggest thing that I had an issue with in this movie is that for a book that is so controversial and centers around this topic of death with dignity and assisted suicide, they didn't ever actually come out and say that that's what he was doing. You see it on a letter from Switzerland. They go to Switzerland. You know that he's dying, but none of the characters come right out and say that he wants to kill himself. None of the characters. So that was a little upsetting for me, especially because in the book, it gets to the point where it's so controversial that there's a court case at the end, and the media are harassing Lou before she goes to Switzerland, and all of that stuff was just not included at all. And they didn't even show Will dying. They just had this sweet little transition where you know he must be dead, but it bothered me that they were skirting around this issue that the book was completely dependent on. And also, just overall, I wanted more emotion. I felt like the energy was really low, and a lot of the time it was just lacking that dramatic life, especially in a story where the stakes were so high. Louisa is trying so hard with her planning to change Will's mind that I just needed more of that emotion. When I was reading the book, there were so many times when Louisa broke down and got frustrated and upset and quit and didn't know what to do and just felt like she was doing everything wrong. And I feel like the filmmakers could have found more opportunities to include these pieces of emotion and make it feel more conflicted than what it did. Let's move on to what I liked about it. In the very first scene, they credited Jojo Moyes with writing the book. It says based on the novel, which I was so happy that she got credit for it, and also Jojo Moyes did the screenplay for the movie. So I just love that authors are getting more involved with their book to movie adaptations, because when that happens, we get the kind of plot that we see in Me Before You, where it does closely follow the book and has actual lines from the book as lines of dialogue, which is always what we as readers want to see when we go see these adaptations. I loved the costumes, I loved the casting, I loved the transitions. I just loved this movie. It was so sweet and romantic and beautiful and amazing. It was really well done. So that being said, even with all of the differences and all of the things that I didn't care for, this movie was probably the best book to movie adaptation that I have seen lately. And when it comes to translating something from book to screen, there's always going to be things that don't make the cut. So you have to be willing to make sacrifices in order to get a well done movie. And I think that they made the cut stuck in necessary places, and it ended up coming together in a really beautiful way. I gave this movie 5 out of 5 stars, and of course I always recommend reading the book before going to see the movie, like I said earlier, but I definitely can see people who haven't read the book still going and thoroughly enjoying the movie as much as all of us as readers will go and thoroughly enjoy the movie. So go see Me Before You, cry your eyes out, come back and let me know what you thought about the movie down below in the comments. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more bookish videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.